Hello everybody, this is a how to assemble the AMS2 video. First and foremost, you want to take out the two middle rollers, as that covers the 1.5mm screws that go in here. Once removed, now you can take out the middle section of the AMS. Lift it up gently like this. It will bind in this one spot right here where the temperature and humidity sensor is. Gently move it up. Just like the AMS1, we are going to disconnect the internal wiring, gently pull up and push on the tabs. Now that we have the internals out of the AMS2, now we can get to the internals of the feeder unit and the 4-to-1 tensioner as well. The AMS2 uses 1.5mm screws that hold the feeder units down. So we're going to remove those first. This is a little Pittsburgh tool that I got from Harbor Freight, and it works really well for me. Now with the AMS2, getting to the two middle sections of the feeder units is a bit tricky. You will have to disconnect a good portion of these wires to fold back the circuit board. The two screws that hold it down are right underneath this capacitor and right underneath this logic gate right here. With the two, you do have to be careful with some of these wires as they are pretty delicate. So with the 1 and the 4, make sure you disconnect any wires that you feel like are in the way or how they wired it up. Each person in the factory wires things a little bit differently. Mine was pretty simple to get to. So I'm going to go to the actual wires here at the bottom, push down, and it comes on up, just like so. We're going to flip it on over, and then we're going to remove the running gear system. I don't know, it's basically just a roller that has a gear and it functions pretty well. Then we're going to push up on this, disconnect the tubing, and we are going to gently pull back and push down and fish it out. When disassembling the AMS1 and 2, it does use 1.5mm screws. We're going to gently unscrew them. None of these screws should be tight enough to crack the plastic, as even the originals will strip and crack. There are 4 of these screws, 1 on the left, 2 on the right, and 1 underneath. And to remove it, you can just simply wiggle it on up, and she comes out, just like that. I disconnect it from the bottom circuit board right here to keep it easy, because we're not going to need this anymore. Now, what we can do with the originals, because the originals are set up similar to how I designed these, you're going to take the black bearings and just push, just like that, and that one comes out. Same with the other side. And then you just wiggle it on out. Next, we'll need 2mm hex screwdrivers to get the worm gear motor section out. We are going to disconnect the indication light and pull it out from the top. And the worm gear will fall out as well. When you get the kit, it will not be installed. What you'll have to do is take the cap and the pushing screw and assemble it. but there are some internal pieces that we will talk about right now. When installing the wedge, you want to add enough grease to this. When you add enough grease to this, it will function way better than if you add a little bit. Make sure that you have enough grease so that it lines the channels and that it's physically there and you can see it in the grooves. Next, line up the wedge so that the wedge section, the angled piece, is going towards you or facing away from the back of the printer. Because of that, it'll allow the mechanism to move back and forth. Next, place the OEM spring with grease as well onto the little nub and push down. Then we'll take the pusher with the nub section downwards and we'll push that down as well. More grease the better, as if you have less, it's going to bind and constrict, and you have plastic on plastic contact, which causes friction. If any of these parts do break, I do have free files that you can download and print more with ASA, PETG, whatever you like, the strongest materials that you can find. Now, you're going to take the cap, place the cap on like so, and we're going to tighten it down. Now, right now, there is absolutely no tension, and you can actually see the wedge piece right here sitting. The more we push down or thread in, the more it's going to push into that wedge piece. And as you can see, tension is applied. It's a bit tricky to see, but you will know when you mess with it. The more, obviously it takes more energy to push it in. So if you want more tension, what you can do is you can print another pusher for the cap that pushes against the spring and just place it on in there, so then you don't have to feed it in 80% of the way to get enough tension for it to bite. But if it is pushed in all the way, it will still work with OEM plastics compatible with the AMS2 and so forth. When assembling the AMS2 kit, what we're going to do first is take our indication light, put it in the groove, and we're going to take the plastic piece, put that on right on top of the LED, and it will fit in between the correct corresponding grooves. Next, we'll take the worm gear, push that on up, and we're going to screw it in. Be careful, I still hold it because the tabs on these little LED cover pieces, they don't like to sit still, even with the screws in on the originals. So I just try to make sure that it all lines up continuously. Boom, it's tight. As you can see, it is all set. We're going to re-plug in the indication light. Now, to put the whole thing together, we are going to put the black bearing in with the flat side up. And I'm going to put the black bearing in with the ledge facing in towards the middle of the part. Now we are going to take the piece with the tin, and we are going to go in at an angle and just push gently, and it will go into place. Next, the last black bearing, we'll fold this down. And as you can see, it will graze against this, so having enough lubrication on the gears as well will help with it hitting this arm. This is an aftermarket piece. It is not originally designed to use something like this, and your own tuning will have to be involved to get each material to work, as this uses basically technology from over 10 years ago to get it to work. So we are going to take the part, make sure that this piece is going upwards, the upper half. We're going to slide it into place just like that. Next, we're going to take our 1.5 millimeter hex screw, take our tiny silver screws, and I like going to this one first, makes it kind of easy, and we're just going to reline it up here, and just gently, once you start getting it tensioned, like it goes from loose to tight, that's all you need. You don't need anything else, or you will strip out the plastic on these pieces. Now the same thing for this one, right until it starts to bite, just like that. And that's barely anything. It just needs to hold the top on. It does not need to be tight enough to hold down an entire fortress. Now the bottom piece. Perfect, that's it. I've actually overstripped that one, so I had to repair it. So be careful. And then the last one. And that's it. Now we're almost finished with this DIY. What we're going to do is feed in the wires, make sure that they're on the right side, and we are going to go at an angle, feed in with the locking piece here from the top, pushing down, but at the same time we also need to lock this into place, push down, and then to keep it in place I like to re-add this roller gear. And we are going to screw this down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the black screws in, and you can definitely tell when it starts to tighten itself down, as you can see. Now, just like the silver screws, you do not tighten this down to strip it. If it is too tight, you will strip the plastic and it will not perform properly. Same thing with the second to last screw. Okay, perfect. We're going to have to flip it over, re-fold it underneath the protective cover here, and push it back in gently. Make sure that you do not bend the pins because you will run into issues. Next, we are going to install the 4-to-1 tensioner. With the 4-to-1 tensioner, make sure you gently remove any connection wire pieces. Now we are going to use the 2mm screwdrivers to remove the 3 mounting screws. This is also a great time to provide maintenance to the gear in case there is buildup of hard plastics that causes extra slipping. Now, to fully remove it, we will have to disconnect the tubing lines, and then after that, the rest of this. Now the 4-to-1 is pretty straightforward. There is a 2mm hex screw in here, which is the actual axle that causes it to sit on and bend, basically. So we're going to remove that off the original. This has the modified one. And we can kind of just bend it on, or not bend it out, but pull it out. Just like so. Now the original has the circuit board on it, which tells the printer if the feeding module is working. So, excuse me, we are going to disconnect that. Slide it out from the top. And then to remove the actual roller gear, we will just kind of, gotta work it out. To get it out, you have to snap it back in. I go from this side this way and then snap in like that. After that, take the original circuit board, and what you'll do is line up the pins on the back side with the screw. Cut your own threads to do this with the screw. Then make sure that nothing is touching, everything's kind of just nicely sitting there. And then boom, just tight enough to hold it down. As you can see, just make sure that there is no rubbing and that it's seating nicely. If there's a little bit of a gap, it is fine, it's not going to cause any issues. Next, we'll take our pushers into the new tension kit. Now I've added extra pusher to it just because for my own plastic I do it. Next we'll take this, kind of fold it in so nothing falls out, just like so. We'll take the screw axle here, push it in, and we will tighten this down. Just needs to be tight. That's it. Then after that, we can reinstall it. Take the plastic tubing, move it in so. We don't have to worry about that just yet. Now we can take these screws, start screwing these in. Just until they're snug. Just like so. Now we are going to refeed these wires into the proper wire holders. Make sure that you do not bend any of these pins, as these things are a pain to rebend back. Seats down nicely. Now we can reinstall those lines. Now we have to put the internals back into the case. We're going to just take these and gently push them in to their corresponding spots. Now what we'll do is we'll take these and just gently fold it into place. Now I take these two screws anyways, so I don't lose them, and I just put them in here. And I put the roller over top, and I don't lose these screws ever. Up. Just like so. Now let's go feed this thing into the printer. Okay, now we need to plug it back in. Take the tubing from the back, plug that in as well. It's a bit tricky. From the back here. Okay, sweet. Now that we have everything plugged in, the AMS will flash the lights. It'll turn on, do its sequence. Now you can feed the plastic in. And another note, because this plastic has been sitting out in the sun, it is a bit warmer. This plastic to the left is a bit cooler. It's roughly about 78 degrees. This one can actually maintain temperatures around 75 degrees to about 68 degrees. The colder the temperature with TPU the better because it stiffens it up. But let's feed each one in. I will show characteristics of everything working as it should and then working as it shouldn't. So right now the tension is applied fully. And it's trying to read it. Okay, so now for this one, we are going to go with absolutely no tension on the feeder so you can see how that works, because it shouldn't pull it no matter what if there's no tension. Okay, well, usually if the tubing isn't short and it's not pulling, it's not going to create any tension. But if it's a longer tubing, it's not going to create any tension. As you can see as well, if you have no tension, it will start to loop up really big because it still needs some resistance to make sure there's enough to tighten it down properly. Going back onto the spool. The next thing is if the 4-to-1 tension is too light. And the characteristics of this will be as if it's not even pulling it. So it's going to get to the 4-to-1, but it's not going to be able to pull it through. And excess noise can happen with these kits as well. So it's not pulling it because it's not able to. So you have to tighten it down. So it starts grabbing. But if you have this issue, you could have a binding issue as well. Fix that, just wait for it to give up. Or what you can do is simply unplug it. After you unplug it with this binding issue, now what you can do is you go through the back, take off the tubing, pull forward, because it's binding right in here. Because it's binding in this section, it's going to create a jam. So what you'd have to do is make sure that the tension on the feeder is released and just pull it back gently. But the problem is, now that you've pulled it back and there's tension created from this and it has stretched the filament, this filament is now not usable. So you do have to trim it. This is probably not the right tool to use. Yeah. Should have just grabbed these in the first place. All right. So just cut them up. Now, this is trash, sadly. So you're gonna lose about, I don't know, $1, less than $1 when properly tuning this each time. So now that you have that removed, put your tubing back in. Make sure that it's properly in the 4-to-1. Plug her back on in. Lights come back on. Make sure that the 4-to-1 is properly tensioned enough to pull. Now we'll take our plastic and we'll feed it in. As you can see, it's pulling it in. It's trying to read it, so it's going a bit slower. And this is just by feel of the plastic, and your print models will tell you if you got the tension right. Now, we're going to put this last one in. once you finally get everything tensioned right and you have the right material settings going on, you can then print with TPU 95A and multicolors. This is actually in 6 color changes. And you can see it is TPU. There is 2 layers of each color and then one on top and finishing it. I hope this video is very helpful for those who are struggling with this kit and trying to get their machine to work with this, with TPU 95A as well.